DraftKings, right now, guys, right now, I just set my phone down, has Usman 3-1 favorite over Leon. That's a big spread. That's a big spread, and there's things that are missing. Now, when I talk about that, right, if you win, even if it's barely, that's not what I'm referencing on 3-1. 3-1 is saying that you've got a very good confidence that Kamaru Usman is going to win. There's some moving parts on this fight, okay? We got a fight coming up between Adesanya and Pereira. Hold that thought. I'm going to get to that later, but it's different. Leon, make sure you understand the time frame. Leon lost to Usman. Some of you did not know that. We have so many new fans. Some of you did not know that. This was 5 years ago. Going on 6. By the way, it's 5 years ago. This is 9. Nope. Leon got another one. It's 9 fights ago for Leon. So he's won 9. He had a no contest in there, but 9 fights. No losses. Usman. When Leon lost to Usman, Usman did not matter at that time. Usman was not a main eventer at that time. He was not a champion. He wasn't even a title challenger. His biggest accomplishment, what is a big one, but in all fairness, he had won the Ultimate Fighter. Toughest tournament in sports. Okay. Leon wanted to fight. As soon as he lost, he wanted the rematch with Usman. Leon started to get a little bit of momentum, started to get a win here or there. He wanted Usman. That is very different than Leon wanting to redeem a loss against a guy who is now champion. It's very different. When a guy wants to fight a person, when a guy has a motivation and a drive to beat a person, as opposed to winning a championship, it's historically a lot more successful. It's also relevant when you understand Leon was not a name that you guys knew the night that he lost. Leon became a name you guys know with 3-piece and a soda. I mean, right? Nobody's a star until they're a star. Nobody's known and recognized until they are. But that was still what put Leon and got Leon more press, more views, more back and forth than anything else. So you got a guy that isn't terribly known. Beats a guy in a fight that a lot of you didn't even know happened. But that fight ate away at him anyway. It was a loss. Now you know that this is personal. That's what I'm trying to get to. This was not seen in front of the world. This was not an embarrassment. This was not a setback. This was not a personal attack. This wasn't about championships. It's personal. It's personal to Leon. That is a different motivation. If you're going to deal with Kamaru Usman, you would goddamn better be motivated. Period. The first round will be about who's the best. The first round will be about the speed. The first round will be about your training camp. After that, you're in a tough guy contest. When you get to championship rounds, you're talking about an elite 1/10 of 1% of the population that can even do that, that can even prepare themselves to go out there. You've got to have the drive. You've got to want. Leon has showed us that he wants Kamaru Usman. Now, there's also a championship. There's also a bigger prize, the cherry on top of the sundae. So when you talk about drive to Leon, right, you got to have that. Kamaru Usman is in that small handful of guys that can weaponize pace. No sports announcers breaking down this fight talking about that. They're going to be talking about the range and the experience, the way Kamaru steps outside. Well, what about Kamaru's hands? His hand was just, you're going to have all these different breaks. They don't even know how to say. You won't even know the weaponization of pace unless you went into combat and you had that done to you. That's where you learn that Dan Gable was right in 1972, that if I can go harder, longer than you can, skills don't matter. And Leon, I apologize, Kamaru is one of the few guys that can do that. You go back over Kamaru's career, you tell me one fight. Now, this is real. First one of you that does this. You tell me one fight that Kamaru Usman lost the 5th round of, I'll give you 2 tickets to his pay-per-view this weekend. It's not a joke. There might be one. Maybe you know a fight that I don't know about. I tell you what, didn't happen in the UFC. Didn't happen in his championship run. Didn't happen in something that I saw. If I have that wrong, first person that tells me. So what are you going to do if you're Leon? What are you going to do if you're the opponent? You're going to have to dig deep. Not on fight night. Everybody wants to win on fight night. Champions don't happen on fight night. Dreams come true on fight night. Champions don't happen. You had to want that yesterday. and the week before, and the month before, and the year before, and generally 10 years before. And there's just some things with the timeline and with the urge that Leon has had to get to Kamaru, not the championship, that's added, that will lead me to believe that Leon is going to be very prepared, that Leon will have that grit, that Leon will dig deep, that Leon will meet Usman with the athletic contest we're going to see. That's the first round. And he's going to be able to meet him in the tough guy contest. Now you start to really get heavy into the X's and O's. Kamaru Usman is right there Khabib-esque with controlling people against the fence. He is right there Khabib-esque with being able to use the fence to set up his takedown and then stay in that position. From an X's and O's, that's the number one thing Team Leon has to worry about. It's not as much the takedown and powerful. I get that Usman's a national champion wrestler in the open. It's not. It's once he corners you. It's once he stalks you, and now all of a sudden, you can only back up so far, the fence is there. That's where the problems come. Leon knows that. I just stated something that possibly some of you didn't think of, but Leon certainly thought about it. By the way, he's had 5.5 years to think about it. Leon came out, talking about Kamaru Usman, okay? And this affected the line. This one statement affected the line at DraftKings. And he said, didn't talk about the fight. He didn't talk about their history. He didn't talk about anything that I just alluded to. He said, Kamaru Usman is in a spot in his career where his body is beginning to break down. That's an interesting statement. There are a few people that know Kamaru Usman as well, I would suspect, as Leon, who studies him every day. Is it a fair statement? Kamaru Usman has had one injury that has delayed him one time in his career. He hurt his hand by bashing into somebody's head. But I could find plenty of other, I could find Volkanovski right this second. I could find plenty of other guys have had that same thing. Is that a sign that your body is breaking down? What evidence does Leon have? Is there somebody within Kamaru's camp or his general vicinity that is talking with Leon, that is telling or sharing something with him? If they are, is it accurate information? It was a hell of a claim for Leon to make, and it affected the line. What's he talking about? Have you guys seen evidence of that? Do you have reason to believe? Is there inside scoop floating around? I personally have been with Kamaru Usman several times since his last contest. Since prior to hurting his hand, since healing his hand. I speak to him, I look at his body. You know, you judge a book by the cover in the sport. The whole reason we do the face-off, so they can take the shirts off and we, the audience, can get a feel for their level of fitness. That's why the weigh-in is so important, particularly in the heavyweight class. Who was this guy that got the jump on Anthony Joshua? Ruiz, right? Something Ruiz knocked him out, but Ruiz shows up to the rematch. He's like 50 pounds heavier. I mean, you just tear the ticket up. It's over. Mike Tyson had done a training camp in Hawaii, and people did not like that. People are saying Mike has a hard time focusing. How do you focus when something with as many distractions as Hawaii? But then Mike, and I didn't know where that was coming from. I didn't understand. I was a little kid. I was 11 years old. He comes to the weigh-in, and he was 22 pounds heavier than he had ever been. He got destroyed. Those people were right. When I talk about you judge a book by the cover, Kamaru looks good to me. I say hi to Kamaru. I pat him on the back. It's like touching an oak tree. But Leon came out and said his body is breaking down. What does Leon know? Why does Leon think that? Does Leon know anything? Was it just a random thing to say? It worked. It affected. It moved the lines at DraftKings. Is there something I missed here, guys? We had a hand injury from a punch that was thrown. Am I right? Or have I missed something?